soldier won't surrender. Faith is like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping in the shadows could be making history. To the fire on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart, they can take my breath when they pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Up, 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 up. We're rising up, 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 up. Rising up, 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 up. We're rising up, 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 up. Rising up, 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 up. We're rising up, 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 up. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance. You can't resist us. This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Straight Talk with Joe Vollano. Very special edition, by the way, as we are here on a Thursday night. So we welcome all of you here. And for everyone who is new to the show, which I am taking it, there are going to be quite a few of the new viewers for the show, as there should be. I think this is a hot topic, something we talked about a month and a half ago. But for all you that are new, I am Joe Vollano. I am your host and your guiding light through chaos like this. I mean, this happens to be something that I think is the reason why we do this show. I mean, we do this show to bring things to light. We do things to work together for the betterment of the entire city and our state and our country, and we do it together. Like this, like our opening song says. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. We do that because we're all here together. And we've shown that we do have some effect on what goes on. And we only could do that if we are joined together as one voice. So as always, though, this show always works best when you are involved with it. So if you want to call in, 203-679-9610. I'm sure there's going to be a couple callers tonight from the league. I think a lot of the parents that are finding out about this, I think, are upset. The league should be upset because the league sent out the email. Because, again, like we talked about back in December, they never even knew about this. But don't worry about it, because they're not the only ones that didn't know about this project or anything of where it originated from, because the Board of Ed didn't know anything about this project either before it was voted on. But we'll get into that as we get into the show. If you want to email us, straighttalkjv@gmail.com. Or if you are on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube, you could join in on the message board. It is always up and running, and I see some of the familiar faces are on there already. I love all of you, too. So you can always throw your questions up on the message board. I try to keep up with them. If I see something that catches my eye, I obviously will comment on it. But if you want to call in 203-679-9610, I have had conversations with some of those on the Board of Ed. I have had conversations with some of those in the city. I've obviously had conversations again with some of those of you who are part of the Meriden Little League and being blindsided. Now, the city doesn't like the fact that I call this a hostile takeover, because there is no other way of putting this. This is a hostile takeover of the fields by the Board of Ed. And I'll explain why I say it that way. One, because nobody knew about it. Nobody knew about it. Nobody on the Maryland, they didn't even bother to contact them. And there's reasons for that. There are many reasons for why they did that. And the first and most important one is that they didn't want this to be vetted before the city steering committee. So they figured the easiest way to get this passed and done is to take it and make the Board of Ed do it. Because the Board of Ed apparently believes that they answer to no one. The Board of Ed believes that they don't need to run this by anybody. They will do what they want, when they want, and who are you to sit there and question us? And if you do question us, they always end the conversation with, well, you don't care about the kids. What about the kids? Well, what about them? This has nothing to do with education, this project. And we're going to get into their responses. So the city also put out a response from Mayor Kevin Scarpati and the Board of Education President, Mr. Kaczynski. So they put out a statement that, as I told them, probably was the most weakest statement I've ever seen. And it actually brings more questions for me. I have more questions for them after reading it. And then if anybody was paying attention to what was going on with the rescue funds for the city side, you would see that the Parks and Rec put in an application that was approved for revitalizing some of the parks. The basketball courts, the tennis courts. Why couldn't they do this project? It is, after all, a city park. The city is responsible for it. Why is the Board of Ed paying for it? And again, if you know the players behind the deal, it makes sense. And we'll get into that, because it is extremely, extremely concerning that there is no transparency within the Board of Ed. And the sad thing is, the Board of Ed voted on a $2 million project that they knew nothing about. Because I was told by those on the Board of Ed that this project they knew nothing about. They knew nothing about back in June when they approved it. It had just come to them. So the question I've always had since this whole thing started, and again, I know some of you are just finding out about this project, and again, if you're informed and you watched the show back in December, you would have known about it. But we got our first caller of the day. Let's see who it is. Can you hear me?
Hello, yes.
Hey, Mike. So on the phone with us, Mike Duffy. What's going on, buddy? Can you hear me?
I got you now.
Okay. What's going on, Mike?
Not much. Just calling in to answer some questions.
Okay, so let's see. So about the first one, the most obvious one. When did you guys find out that the Board of Ed was taking over your fields?
We found out through a flyer that our previous president received, and that was last year.
So
we
real quick, Mike, I'm sorry to cut you off. What is your position with that? Thank you, Keith. I was about to do that for you. Why don't you state what your affiliation is with the Meriden Little League?
I'm currently the safety officer. I was a former president of the league for 2 years. I was president under Ed Walsh, and then for our inaugural season of Meriden Little League.
Awesome. Okay. Now go ahead. I just want to make sure that the audience knew who they were talking, who was talking, and what your affiliation was. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So we basically found out through a flyer last year. Our former president got a flyer that said they were going to do this, and that's how we found out.
So at no point the Board of Ed. Now again, the Board of Ed knew about this back in June when they voted for it. Really, they knew about this back in March. And apparently somebody had to know about this even before that, but we'll get into that after this. So this project had been going on for a while because they had their renditions of what was going to happen and what it was going to look like. Does anyone from your league know who came up with those?
Well, we do not. We were not contacted. We were not included in anything. That's our biggest issue. We use these fields for 70 years. Meredith, Jack Berry, and Ed Walsh, and we've used them continuously. Jack Berry, it was limited use in 2020 because of COVID. We had some practices there, but we basically did not provide baseball for 9-year-olds and under. So we didn't need that complex, and it was hard to social distance. Yeah. So, I think they came up with some of these decisions because of that. They used the COVID year, but last year we had a 35% increase in our membership.
Yeah. So Mike, just so I could clarify. This now, if anyone's looking at your screen, you're going to see the current configuration of the ballpark. Now, the city's saying that you guys were having decreased league signups, and you guys are saying no. You guys have had 35% increases, correct?
So yes, the city's statement, the one that the mayor put out on social media, and let me just clarify, we never put anything out on social media. We put it to the parents because there was machinery on the fields, and we started getting phone calls and emails of what's going on with our fields. And there were rumors going around because nobody really knew what was going on. So, when the mayor put out his statement to social media, instead of contacting us, it was highly inaccurate. We've had 6 to 13% increase for the past 6 years. We had a decrease during COVID in 2020 because we couldn't provide baseball to 9-year-olds and under. But last year, we had a 35% increase. And this year we're on track for another, 8 to 13% increase.
And you guys have 26 teams, correct?
Approximately 26, yes.
Okay. So for those who don't know, the mayor and the board president of the Board of Ed put out a joint statement, basically saying that this is great for the city and that everyone should be happy. Now, just so people understand, I'm going to put that back up, the configuration. What currently is there now? You have a high school size ballpark in the back, correct?
No, that's actually a 50-70. So it's not a full high school size field. Okay. It's a little league. It's kind of an intermediate division field, and then we have 2, regular little league fields as well on that diamond.
So now, are they saying that since they're going to take out those 2 little league fields? Really, they're taking out all 3 because they're going to put 1 high school softball and 1 high school baseball. That's going to be there, and the basketball courts are going to go, which we'll get into later on. So the basketball courts are going to be gone. So it's basically just going to be those 2 fields. So,
Joe, basically, we've conceded the point. We're basically losing that complex. It is the city's property, and those fields are going to be good for the middle school, and the high school, whoever uses those fields. The problem that we have is the manner in which it was done. And our biggest issue with the city that we were fighting with and that the mayor went on social media is we're trying to get language to protect us from that happening to Ed Walsh. And the original memorandum of understanding they tried to give us gave us third fiddle to the school, to the town and the Board of Ed for the Ed Walsh complex. So at any time they could have just pulled that from us.
Correct.
And in the last 48 hours, we've made significant progress in our talks, and it's starting to look very good for our league. But I do believe it is because it came out into the media.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, they only respond to force. They only respond to people back to backlash. That's it. That's why, again, this is the whole reason why this project went the route it went. They wouldn't put this before the steering committee on the city side because they knew that parents would be outraged and would be up in arms. So they figured they'd try to slide this through, hoping that nobody would be paying attention and that nobody would say anything. That's basically their train of thought. Now,
I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that because I can only speak to what I know. I just know that the statement that came out from the city was inaccurate. It was grossly inaccurate.
Yeah, I read it, and like I said, I had more questions than answers when I read through it and I like to know from what it says here, and I'm going to read the statement from the mayor because I think it needs to be read, and then I'm going to later on read your guys' statement. It says, Meriden prides itself on promoting quality fields and parks for our families and residents to enjoy. Throughout the years, we have worked successfully with numerous organizations and leagues, including our Board of Ed, to ensure our fields in the city of Meriden are safe, orderly, and ready for competitive play. It is our understanding that the Jack Berry Little League merged with Ed Walsh, which they did, to create the new Meriden Little League due to decreased players and coaches. So why did you guys merge?
So we merged for several reasons. Jack Berry was stagnant in their numbers, so they were lower in numbers, but we had been increasing, and we knew as the boards of both leagues, we knew that combining would make us a stronger baseball league because we're traveling to other towns and we're seeing these towns who are combined. They have hundreds of kids, more than us in their leagues, and they're stronger. They're stronger leagues. And here we are in Meriden with two little leagues when we could have one. So that's one reason to make us stronger and better. And the other reason was Jack Berry had stagnant numbers. We had a lot of kids coming to our side on Ed Walsh. Yep. So we came together as two boards and we said, look, it's better for the town, it's better for baseball, and it's better for the kids. We'll have all these fields for everybody, and we'll be able to have a good experience. And that's why we merged. Okay.
And the letter continues on. The city has always had control over Jack Berry Complex as it is a city field. Remember that statement. Just everyone remember that statement, that the city has always had control of the Jack Berry Complex as it is a city field. So why this is going to the Board of Ed should raise concerns, but we'll get to that later. After years of declining enrollment, overgrown fields, and facility wear and tear, has become apparent that the facility required renovation, upkeep, and enhancements. The upkeep baseball complex was becoming an eyesore to the entire neighborhood. So the city, now, if I remember correctly, the city had already had an agreement with you guys that it would help maintain the fields, which they never did. And if I do remember correctly, your organization poured something like $26,000 into these fields, correct?
I'm not sure. Under Jack Berry, they put money into the fields. During the COVID period, when we had we basically refunded 9-year-olds and under all their fees, yep. And so we lost about $8,000 in revenue. Coming from those sponsors and everything else. So we asked the town to take care of the fields. It's very rare that we asked them previously, but we said, look, we're having trouble. We don't have the volunteers this year because of the loss of, I think it was 120 kids. So we didn't have the volunteers and the revenue. So we asked them to take care of the fields during COVID. And then, and that's where that came from. So the fields weren't in disrepair because of us. It happened because of COVID and our need for help.
Right. I know some other former board members have responded online about it. And again, they said respectfully, the city has never kept up its end of the bargain regarding maintenance and appearance. I spoke with other previous board members who were with Jack Berry at the time, that they've poured over $26,000 into those fields, trying to make sure that they're properly maintained. Not including that the damn thing floods all the time. So
Right. And I'll tell you, Chris Gordon from the Parks and Recs, he's done a really good job when we've asked him to help us, as much as he can, as much as he's allowed, and as much as he can. Through this whole experience, him and I think the Board of Ed have been the only ones who've talked to us up until, we started getting into the media here.
yeah. So who's reached out to you guys now? So who are you guys talking with now?
Our liaison is Chris Borden. So he basically talks to us, and then, it goes, he goes to someone else, I believe, either the city manager or the attorney. I really don't know. I'm not as much in the know as some of the other league officials with that.
So, listen, I've always been, since this whole thing started, even back before December, when this project specifically is the one I have concerns about, there has never been a public hearing on this. The public has never had the opportunity to question anybody on why they're doing what they're doing and the way they're doing it. And I think that's concerning. Would you guys benefit from a public hearing from the Board of Ed in the city? Let me put it this way. Would the people that are joining your league show up?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I mean, we're not happy about what's going on, but the fact is it's going to happen. I believe it is. I believe we can't, nobody's going to stop this. The reality is that the two fields are actually going to be really good fields. I mean, you can't argue with that. It's going to be good for the, the middle school kids. The thing that we need is just the assurance that they are not going to do that to this last complex that we have. That's what we need, because we can make this work. We can make this work for us. We have to, but we can. But we need the assurance that they're not going to be able to pull this out from under us. We provided free baseball to 120 kids last year.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you even allow us to have the risk of losing a complex when we have provided free baseball for players?
Yeah. So, I understand where you guys are coming from. And to think that nothing could ever change. The only thing I have concerning with what you just said is that you feel that nothing will ever change and this will never change and you guys can't do anything about this. That's false. That's false. We've proven that here on the show that when people join together as one, you guys can get the answers you want and you guys can get the results you need. And the only way you guys are going to get anything accomplished is if you guys as a league and all the parents get together and actually demand it. I think that's why you're starting to see some pushback, some talks happening with the city again, because again, nobody wants bad press and everybody's going to social media. The problem is going to be is that when a week goes by, will you guys still be just as gung-ho and as committed to making sure this gets done? And that's something that I hope you guys do. There's always power in numbers. And we've proven that here on different subjects. So I do have issue with just that one thing that you said, that you don't think there's anything you could do about it. There's always something the citizens of the city could do, because the citizens dictate what happens in this city, not the government, as with anything in this great country of ours. So I want to make sure that those that are listening, understand that just because the government says or the city says, well, this is what we're doing, doesn't mean it's so. So things could always be changed. Things could always be amended. Again, do I think the project is a decent project? Probably. But the fact that there is so much unknowns to this project, I think is the big concern for me. And the fact that nobody knows where it started and where it came from, I think is a concern for me. So not to knock what you just said, but I just want to make that one clarification.
I understand that. And all we want right now is just the assurance that we'll keep our other complex. We can live with We're not happy about it, but we can live with what they're doing with that field. It would have just been nice if they had come to us and included us in all these designs and plans. I mean, for example, the softball field can be used by Little League, but it has to be Little League dimensions. It has to be a 200-foot fence. And their original, the design when they finally talked to us was 180 feet. So, these are things where if we were included or baseball people were included, the dimensions would have been right. And we could have prepared. We could have planned our season, our practices, and been ready to just have our one complex and use this field when they allowed us, which is after the Board of Ed or, whoever's using it.
Well, listen, to me, I don't know why they're putting a softball field there anyways. We have many, many softball fields throughout this city that they could have redone. So, to me, softball here doesn't make any sense to me. And really, to be completely honest, I don't see the purpose of putting a new baseball field there. I think you should, if they were going to do anything, they would just renovate the fields that you guys have now and fix up that basketball court, because again, you do have redevelopment going on there. And for the city, again, when I get into farther into this this letter they wrote, if they're trying to say that people are going to be redeveloping here in the city because of the baseball field, that's ridiculous in itself. But I just don't see why these fields have been targeted for really just for to be taken away and built into two fields that are going to benefit certain groups. Just doesn't make sense to me. Now, will you guys be able to use any of these fields?
We're working it out right now. Like I said, we've had significant movement in the last 8 hours from the city, and we're trying to get assurance. We want assurance that we keep our complex up at Ed Walsh. It is the city's property, but for 70 years, we've been allowed to use that for our sole purposes. And so we're trying to get assurances that yes, when the Board of Ed and the city are done with those fields, that we can use them. Because the middle school games are mostly during the week. So, maybe we can get them on the weekends. Turf fields are great. I mean, you could play literally a half an hour after it rains.
Yeah.
If the drainage is done and everything's proper, it's a good deal. It's just, are we going to be able to use those as well as everybody else?
Correct. So again, and I know that, where'd they put it there, is that you guys are going to be third in line for using the school, for using these.
The original MOU, yes. I'm not sure where we're at with the new one. We're currently working, we're working, Brian, as you know, Brian is the liaison really. They're working on fixing the MOU language, to make it better for everybody involved.
Yeah, because again, this is the part that bothered me. It said this complex will be the home of the Washington Middle School softball and baseball teams, and an option for other middle and high school teams. Which again brings me back to what I said back in December. The reason why I have concerns about it is that those those other middle and high school teams happen to be two traveling teams that again have ties to leaders in the city, which again, I won't get you into. That stuff, that's directions I go, not you guys. But listen, I hope you guys do get what you guys are looking for, and I think you guys are owed, frankly, these fields. And I hope you guys get to play there for a long time. And I hope they are good for you guys. Again, for me, I don't see the purpose of this other than if they want to replace the fields, I think it's great. But it's just they all should stay Little League fields because, again, they're taking out that basketball court in the back also, which we're going to talk about in a second. But I wish you guys the best of luck on everything you guys do, and hopefully you guys get what you're looking for.
Thank you, and I appreciate you giving us a platform to speak to the public.
Hey, anytime. And listen, that's what everybody is here for, and this is why we do the show, to make sure that, again, the voices that aren't being heard are heard. And again, if we could all come together as one to make sure that we could amplify that voice and it gets the city's attention, then it was worth every second of it. So I thank you again, Mike, and best of luck to all you guys over at the Meriden Little League.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Mike. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
So again, they're saying they could get away with it, which is fine. Again, I still think that this Board of Ed, I still think needs to have a public hearing on this because, again, nobody knows about this project. The fact that it was brought to their attention from a poster. There is nothing in any of the minutes on the Board of Ed that shows anything about this project. Like I said, the Board of Ed voted on this without knowing anything about it. That's troubling. That's troubling in itself that you would spend $2 million on a project you know nothing about. And then the blind side the league that uses it. And then again, you're going to lose the basketball courts. How many times have we been to city council meetings and they keep coming up and talking about those basketball courts and they need to be redone? It is funny. It is ironic, actually, that the Parks and Rec, remember that one sentence I told you to remember, the city has always had control over Jack Berry Complex as it is a city field. If it's a city field, why are they giving it? Why are they giving it to the Board of Ed? Why isn't the city, first of all, why isn't the Parks and Rec who put this out, this new rescue funds application, why wasn't this project put in here? Parks and Rec owns it. Why is not the Park and Recs doing this project? And again, I know why they're not doing it. They're not doing it because they didn't want this backlash. They were hoping to keep this under the radar. But people like myself and people like the Meriden Little League who got this and it was like, whoa, wait a minute. No, this doesn't pass the smell test. So this was introduced back in March at the Finance Committee meeting on the Board of Ed. This has never, ever gone to City Council. This has never, ever been discussed at City Council. So I know some people are online asking where in the minutes this has been. This has never been. And the Board of Ed has never discussed this. Again, fixing the turf, who's going to foot the bill? Apparently, if Board of Ed is doing this, I don't know why they wouldn't be responsible for it, but of course not, because it says the city's Parks and Rec is going to be the ones that maintain the field. Remember, the Board of Ed doesn't own anything. All the Board of Ed buildings are owned by the city. They are not owned by the Board of Ed. Every complex is owned by the city and not the Board of Ed. Just so we're clear. So why the Board of Ed is taking this project on is interesting. And every time I ask, where did this project start? I get, I believe it was here. I believe it was here. I'm sorry, you're the Board of Ed. You voted for this. I believe? No. You should be like, I know where it started from. I know where it came from. Nobody does. Nobody knows where this started. Well, obviously people know. They're just not telling. This is what happens. And again, the city sits there and throws their hands up. You're starting trouble. You're doing this. You're trying to stir the pot. No, these are legitimate questions. These are legitimate questions that deserve answers to. I don't know why the Board of Ed would take this on. Give this project, and this is two things I want the Board of Ed to do. One, if they're going to keep this project, have a public hearing on it, stating exactly what's going on here. Or give it to the city. Remember, the city has only spent $13.4 million out of a $36 million allocation for their rescue funds. The Board of Ed has spent all their money. They have allocated all $24 million over 3 years. I'd rather see this $2 million go towards education, go towards programs for students. So for those who sit there and say, well, Joe, you're just not for education. You're not for the kids. No, I am for the kids. I have 2 kids in the school system. I want to see those millions of dollars go to the kids at school. They should move this project to the city, to the Parks and Rec. Let this go before the steering committee so there could be a hearing on it. And then the Board of Ed could use that $2 million for something else. Use that $2 million for some kind of projects. Go do something for the children, for all the children. There's no reason for the Board of Ed to even be in this project. The city owns the property. If the city owns the property, they should pay for this. And now that this is out in the open, something should be done. You tried sliding it in, and it didn't work. You got caught. You got a little egg on your face. Wipe it off, and go ahead and do the right thing. Will that happen? Probably not. Probably not. Because again, people have very short-term memories. And it's going to be up to these parents on whether or not they're okay with this. Is the neighborhood okay with losing the basketball courts? Because that could have been part of this list. You could have had a whole new basketball court there. Could have had a whole new basketball court. So let me finish reading this letter. The proposal to renovate the fields at Britannia Street will significantly benefit the entire neighborhood and give Meriden's children an opportunity to play on a state-of-the-art sports complex on a reliable surface, which they will. This will minimize game cancellations and the hassle of rescheduling contests. The facility will also be low maintenance and require little to no preparation from our league volunteers. Great. That solves all your problems from the second paragraph. The second paragraph. After years of declining enrollment, overgrown fields, wear and tear, it has become apparent that the facility needed renovation. Great. Upkeep and enhancements. Great. So enhance them. You just made it easy for the volunteers now. So you just solved paragraph number 2's problems. This complex will be home of Washington Middle School softball and baseball teams and an option for other middle and high school teams, which is the key to this whole project. Mark my words. When this is all said and done, you're going to have the traveling baseball team and you're going to have the 17 and under softball team, traveling softball team, playing on these fields. Happens to be a CEO of one of the biggest nonprofits with their kids going to be playing in it. And the softball happens to be run or coached by a city councilor. Interesting? Coincidence? Oh, and the CEO of that nonprofit's brother just happens to be that of the superintendent. Oh, So maybe that's why this got brought into the Board of Ed. I call me a conspiracy theorist, but I know how government works. Let me rephrase that. I know how real government works. You know, I tell my son all the time because he's taking a civics class, and he tells me about all, about what they're doing and how. And then I chuckle. He goes, "What are you chuckling about?" Because there's that, which is the real way of doing things, how most people have to go through things. But then there's always the back door where most of things in government get done. And this is one of those. This happens to be one of those projects. Because if it wasn't, there'd be a hell of a lot more transparency to this. A lot more. But you know what the problem is? They know that voters have short-term memories. They know that there are more uninformed people in this city than informed. They know that this will be gone in 2 weeks. Nobody will care. Are they right? Most of the time, yes. Yes. It's the problem with our city. It is the number one problem with our city. I say it all the time. Nobody wants to stand up and do anything. And then they continue on. There will be ample opportunity for Maryland Little League and others to use the field when not in use by Meriden public schools, as their games are played during the day and like we talked about. Additionally, we do not anticipate any changes to the Maryland League's use of Ed Walsh Complex yet. They should have put yet. And this is the last paragraph. The city has a unique opportunity to revitalize a neighborhood and provide an amazing sports complex for its residents, while ensuring children are given even greater access to sports in our community. This is a huge win for the city and its residents. So you're giving kids greater access by taking away their Little League fields and giving it to high schoolers where they could play on multiple fields throughout the city. But this is giving greater access to sports in our community? Anyone else buying that bullshit? I'm not. Because to me, you're taking away 3 Little League fields to put in a high school baseball and softball field. So how is that giving greater access to sports in our community? This is a huge win for city and its residents. No, this is a huge win for the 17 and under softball team and the traveling baseball team. That's who this is a win for. That's who this is a win for. Does nothing for anybody else. This letter was pathetic. It's weak, and it gives no guarantees to the Meriden Little League. Now, like he said, over the last couple of days, they've had talks again, which is amazing, isn't it? They've had talks again. So they went from December when they had talks, and then those stalled, and now it's back again because this went public again. Is anyone getting the hint of what you need to do? Is anyone starting to realize the pattern? When you make this stuff public and you do things together, you get government to move. So when he says nothing can change, nothing, I don't want to say irritates me, nothing discourages me more. Nothing discourages me more than hearing that come from a citizen. Is that there's nothing we could do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. That's what they want you to think. That's how they want you to behave. That's how they want to condition you to think that way. If you believe something is right or wrong, stick to it and follow through with it. When I hear that kind of stuff, again, it does irk me a little bit. Because again, I think this project is wrong. I think they should do the turf fields, but leaving them all as Little League fields. I think they should redo that baseball field, that baseball court, basketball court, and be done. But see, they don't have to, Ed. So Ed said this is just a way to be able to burn COVID relief money by saying it's for schools. Listen, if you want to do that, that's fine. Send it through the city. Send it through the steering committee. And then at least they'll have a debate on it. This is the difference. This is really the problem I have between the way the city's doing it and the way the Board of Ed is doing it. The city is at least being transparent about it. You want to put an application forward, you put an application in forward. You go, you give your presentation, and they approve it or not approve it. At least it's out in the open. The Board of Ed just does what they want. They're spending $24 million with no oversight, with no one having an opinion. And everyone knows how much I am. Again, they lost all credibility with me when they put that survey out back in September. So for all you who are new to this show that are watching it and took that survey back in September about what you want to see the COVID money spent on, just know that you were deceived by the Board of Ed. Because every project that was on that survey was already approved back in June, really approved back in March. They were already approved. Because as Mr. Grove, the assistant superintendent, said, they couldn't wait for the school year. They wanted to vote on these now so they could do things for the beginning of the school year. So why the Board of Ed thought that it was smart to put out a survey in September when all that money was already allocated back in June is a slap in the face to everybody that took it and thought that you had a voice in what was going to happen. Instead, the Board of Ed used it to sit there and pat themselves on the back, saying, look, we were able to do everything we put on that survey. And they were waiting for everyone to pat them on the back, say, you guys did a good job. Do you guys need a cookie? Look at our Board of Ed. Instead, they were pulling the wool over your eyes. Listen, politicians and nonprofits, half the city council are heads of nonprofits. LaRue Graham, Crystal Blake, you have Sonia Jelks, the majority leader, has a nonprofit. In fact, the only one that's not part of a nonprofit, I believe, is Fontanella. As far as the Democratic side, the Republicans, they all have jobs. But again, if you want to do this project, let's bring it out into the open. Let's bring it out into the open. I'm calling on every Board of Ed member. They need to put a motion forward to have a public hearing on this. Have a public hearing on this. All it needs is a motion and a second, and then it goes to a vote. And I got to tell you, if it doesn't, I cannot support any Board of Ed member come next November. Not this November, the following November. I will not support any Board of Ed member. And the Board of Ed is run by Republicans. I won't do it. Anyone who doesn't want to have transparency in government should not be there. If you do not want transparency, you should not hold power in this city at any level. At any level. And I will spend money against you. This is an embarrassment. You should all be very, very irritated and pissed off about how this whole thing went down. And if you're not, unfortunately, you're part of the problem. Because you are the reason why they do things the way they do it. The Parks could easily have put this project in with their $2.2 million. So that was the mayor and the Board of Ed's response. And this is what they were responding to. Because obviously the Little League apparently had to tell their members and the parents that they were screwed. And this is what was released on social media by some of the parents. MLL families. An issue concerning the league has arisen that the executive board wants to share with its memberships, families, and citizens of Meriden. The league has worked and will continue to work with the city of Meriden and its leadership regarding the hostile takeover, I'm going to add that, hostile takeover of the Jack Berry complex on Britannia Street and the agreement. The league has made strides in its talks. However, those talks are currently at a standstill. So again, back in December, we did a show on it. 3 days later, they had their meeting. And then again, a couple weeks went by, and the city said, well, all right, you had your chance. No, we're not going to do anything. However, those talks have stalled, and we feel the future of our Little League in the city of Meriden is in jeopardy. The league feels that the city is offering now is a bad deal for Meriden Little League and Little League baseball in general. So, and again, I'm going to push back a little bit on the Meriden Little League here. Because of some of the statements that have been made, the league feels that it's a bad deal. If it's a bad deal and you feel it's a bad deal, then there is no way you should be even remotely for this project if it's a bad deal for the members of your league. And you guys should continue to fight. In October of 2021, the Board of Ed poster was made public reflecting proposed changes to the Jack Berry complex. Now, again, that is the first time that anyone has seen those. And again, my question is, who paid for that rendition of the fields? Who paid for the proposal? That proposal wasn't free. Someone just didn't come out and say, "Oh, this is what we're gonna do." Because again, this project came to the Finance Committee in March, was approved in June. This kind of project, the drainage system alone, had to be planned out. That rendition, some architect, some landscape architect had to do that. Who paid for it? Who paid for it? When was it done? Because even the Board of Ed members themselves have no idea. And I can't stress that enough, because I think that's the scariest part. That's the scariest part, is that even the Board of Ed members themselves know nothing about this project other than somebody told them to vote for it. And they did. They just did it. They said, "Oh, okay. Oh, you want it? Okay. No big deal. No questions asked. No nothing." They're just a rubber stamp for, obviously, Mark Benigni and the rest of them. Because I got to imagine Mark Benigni knew about this. Somebody had to. It just didn't come out of thin air. Either that or Board of Ed members are lying. In December of 2020, when the league worked with the department to outline its concerns and ensure that the Meriden Little League would be able to have access to the new Jack Berry complex and discuss dimensions necessary for both fields to comply with Little League standards. This information was then provided to the city's attorney. Why it went to the city's attorney is beyond me. I don't know why this kind of stuff couldn't be worked out. I don't see why the attorney had to. The city provided a draft of a memorandum of agreement, and the league outlined its concerns regarding the language it contained, as it put Meriden Little League third in line to use either complex. And it has an expiration date of 5 years and does not guarantee Meriden Little League usage of Ed Walsh Fields in the future. Countless correspondence and timelines have been provided to the city, and to date, we have been unable to resolve our differences or have our concerns addressed because they don't care about your concerns. Let's just be completely honest. They don't care. They're pandering. They're pandering right now. The only way that they'll address your concerns is if you keep fighting. That's it. And you recruit the citizens of this city to help you, which I think many of us are. But you can't do it with the attitude, though, that nothing's going to change. With that's a defeatist attitude, and with that attitude, nothing will change. As of last week, heavy machinery has already been witnessed at the Jack Berry complex, and without a definitive agreement, we are fearful we may lose Ed Walsh complex as well. This is how we rise up. This is exactly how we do it. As an executive board, we owe you all this to be transparent and honest. At least someone's being transparent and honest. Why don't you guys try to make sure that the city is doing that as well? The language we are asking for in this agreement with the city is not only fair, but has also been something that has been provided to the Meriden Little League for over the last 75 years. Meriden Little League continues to rise faster, grow at a rate faster than neighborhood and towns. With the current verbiage and drafted MOA, we are fearful Meriden's children will not have a place to play in the coming years. See, they don't care about history. They care about now. They care about what's best for them. They don't look long term. That's one of the problems with the city government in general. They don't care. They look very short term. What benefits them? They're looking 5 years. You guys are trying to look 20 years. They only care about 5 years because then their experiences are over and they don't care what happens after that. We continue to work with the Board of Ed and Parks and Recs Department and thank both of them for providing a platform to discuss our concerns. The league only asks that the city and leadership do the same. Good luck at that. As we know more, we will continue to update and all that other kind of stuff. We ask that you do not ignore this information. Please share this information with anyone you feel may need to know, as this does not only affect families and children of Meriden legally, but also affects all of Meriden, which it does. In the long term, it does. In the long term, it does. It is crazy. But I think if parents really want to do something, they should be emailing every Board of Ed member. Email every Board of Ed member. And state your concerns. Tell them you want a public hearing on this. You want more information. You want more information on this project that's going to directly affect your children and the children of Meriden. This is typical government. This is how a corrupt government works. And I'll say it. This is how a corrupt government works. Where they don't care about what the public has to say. They have no worries. Now are they're gonna dig? There's either two things they're gonna have. They're gonna dig their heels in, and they're gonna say, "We don't care. We're done." we're going to make this happen one way or another. Or there are going to be some brave people on the Board of Ed or in the city council, and say, hey, we're going to talk this through. And we're going to do something to make everybody happy. The only way that second one comes out is if we all join together. All join together. This is a gross abuse of power. And the lack of transparency is disgusting. It's disgusting. And every board member on the Board of Ed who does not bring this to the public and does not ask for a public hearing on this so that real information could get out there to the families. If you are not willing to bring this to the public and to the parents, then you should not be holding the position you're in. I don't care who you are. Democrat, Republican, I don't care. Transparency. Transparency is what every citizen deserves. Answers to their questions, basic questions, the citizens deserve. And if you're not willing to do that, then you deserve to have no place in power in any government. Again, don't care what side of the aisle you're on. This can easily be done. All it takes is a simple motion and a second, and then a simple vote. And all of this can be clarified to the public, and we could all move on. Or we could continue down this road. We can continue down this road. Now, I've spoken to most of the Board of Ed members already. I'm hoping one of you, actually two of you, have the backbone to help out the citizens of this great city. These citizens deserve it. And you are obligated as servants of the people, for the people, to make sure that their questions are answered. And we'll see. And we'll see. I'm going to remain hopeful that that's going to happen. I'm going to remain hopeful that this is going to happen. Because I believe that we can change things. I don't ever believe that we don't have a voice and we can't make a difference to change things. It's just a matter of how committed are we to it. Time will tell, and we'll find out soon. But I wish the Meriden Little League the best. I know they've had great people affiliated with it over the years. Like I said, I've been in contact with many of them who have been former board members. And I guess this struggle between the city and the league has always existed for a long time. But to have a hostile takeover by the Board of Ed is a little strange to me, especially since it was the Board of Ed. So Because like the city said, the city owns the property. So why the Board of Ed has anything to do with it is beyond me. Use those funds to actually put into the schools. The city has plenty of money in their rescue funds to take care of this project if it needs to happen. You guys worry about schools and the children and let the city worry about their own properties. We'll see what happens. Time will tell. We have a couple weeks and we'll talk about this again. We'll see where we stand. Hopefully on Sunday, or at least by mid next week, we're talking about a public hearing date. Hopefully we're talking about a public hearing date. And we're going to get some answers to how this all came about. But until then, we have a show again on Sunday. On Sunday, we're going to talk about, if you're looking at this property, way in the back left-hand corner of this photo is what we're going to be talking about on Sunday. That is the Tremont Street project. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons of that. And again, the interesting, Super Bowl is Sunday. Oh my God. Yeah, we're not having a show on Super Bowl Sunday. All right, we're going to have to, Saturday I can't do. Damn it, I forgot about Super Bowl. Looks like we might have to have a Monday show. I'll keep you guys posted on that. Anyone needs squares, Ed, why don't you send me a text message, buddy? I have not had any squares yet this year. So let me know. Just email me. Or just text message me. Yeah, we'll do Monday for a show. Usually Mondays are a very busy time. Monday is Valentine's Day. You know what? I just hate this whole week. Maybe Tuesday. We'll do Tuesday. We'll do Tuesday. Valentine's Day. Ugh, I hate Valentine's Day. I'm sorry. I've always hated Valentine's Day. You were always killing me, Lisa. But all right, so we'll do it Tuesday. Hopefully we have an answer. Hopefully we're going to have a public hearing on this. We'll go from there. Tuesday is Flag Day. Great. Then I'll put all the flags up. Then I accidentally kicked my camera tripod there. Sorry if I'm a little crooked. But so we'll do Tuesday. We'll do Tuesday night. Hopefully we have some answers on this, and we will talk about the Tremont project and the benefits and the cons to that. And Tuesday is his birthday, so we'll sing happy birthday to Will, and we'll go from there. Guys, until next time, guys, always keep the faith. We do not have defeatist mentality here on this show. Nothing is ever dead or done unless we allow it to be. We will always move forward with one voice to make sure those that are not heard are heard. You know, this theme song to this show, we are the resistance sometimes. We are. And we are louder than a freight train when we all get together and speak with one voice. Contact your Board of Ed members. We're going to see which ones are for the people or against the people right now. That's basically what we're going to find out. Who's for transparency? Who's not for transparency? That's basically what we're going to find out over the next couple of days. And which one's going to stand up and say, I hear you, and I'm going to take care of this. Because you deserve the right to know. We're going to find out who those people are in the next week. So we'll keep you up to date on that on Tuesday, along with other things. So guys, until next time, I love each and every one of you. I love this city more than you know. I love the people of this city. I love the taxpayers of this city. I love everybody in this city. No matter what side you're on. If you're willing to do good on behalf of everybody in this city, I will stand with you. When you're looking to deceive and hide things from the citizens of this city and not look after their best interest, I will be the first one to be up your ass. No matter what side you're on. My loyalty is to every citizen in this city to do what's right. That has been the promise I gave you on my first show. It is the promise I will always go forth with every show. So until then, until Tuesday, I love you. God bless you. And as always, God bless this amazing country of ours. I love you guys, and I will see you guys all on Tuesday. Good night.
And a million faces born together, made for elevation. I'm a soldier, won't surrender faith. It's like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath. When you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping and the shadows could be making history.